Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा वेलकम ऑल ऑफ यू so we have completed till verse number 6. We saw seeing God everywhere was the last verse which we saw, in which we saw how one can systematically see everyone and everything in relationship with Krishna, with the relationship with God. And whoever sees Krishna in the relationship, whoever sees the Supreme Lord within everything, he is the one who never hates or criticizes anyone and anything. So, very important verse. It's a good opportunity. Now, very favorite month of Krishna is coming, Purushottam Masa. We can, we of our few friends, we were discussing what all we should do during the Kartik Mas. So, one of the devotee has taken a vow that he will not at all do Vaishnava Ninda, criticize devotees, and he will try to see everybody on an equal platform, not to compare, not to criticize. That is his desire. So we saw that there are three levels of people. There is Kanishta Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and we also saw the qualities of Kanishta, Uttama, and Madhyama Adhikari. Uh, Uttama Adhikari is the one who sees everything in relationship to God, and he sees everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna, and he has a very nice divine spiritual vision, and the understanding of brotherhood is seen very much in this Uttama Adhikari. He is the one who teaches a universal brotherhood through his example, personal example, and he is a liberated soul. Uttama Adhikari is a liberated soul. And we also saw there are imitators of Uttama Adhikari, and one should not try to imitate. There is a Sanskrit word called Anukaran and Anusaran, that one should do Anukaran, one should not do Anukaran, that is copy paste. One should follow. That's very important. So we should try to follow the Uttama Adhikari's qualities, but we should not try to imitate the qualities of Uttama Adhikari. And those who imitate are the one who are like politicians. They try to imitate and behave like Uttam Adhikari in the public. Or there are these philanthropists who try to, false philanthropists who try to, show that they are really having concern and they're equal to everyone. But then that is, they are just the imitators of Uttam Adhikari. Okay, so after seeing all this, now we will see the qualities, qualitative oneness. This is a very important for thing, a philosophical point which we have to understand. So verse number 7 talks about qualitative uh, oneness. Uh, we also discussed last time about the oneness, how Krishna is the only Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the energies come from Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Krishna. And the qualitative oneness, especially the difference between a Jiva and a Ishvara, is spoken here. So we will see verse number 7. And just project it on the screen. Okay. Yasmin sarvani bhutanya atmanya आत्मैवा भूद्विजानतः तत्र को मोहः कोह मोहः कः शोकः एकत्वम् अनुपश्यत. One who always sees all living entity as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So this is again a person who sees everybody on an equal platform. He is a Uttam Adhikari, and he is the one who sees all the living entity as a spiritual spark. In quality, one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So a person who sees a living entity as a part and parcel of Krishna, he is a spiritual spark. He has clearly understood that he is not this body, he is a spirit soul, or he can also see Atma, a spirit soul, within the body of within all the bodies which comes in front of him, and that spiritual spark is the one which is dragging everything. So he is having a clear understanding about the existence of soul, and that existence of the soul, when he's seeing that soul is a qualitatively one with Krishna. So we have seen this in Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, that a living entity, Atma, is qualitatively one with Krishna, but quantitatively there is a difference. So here the first thing, that is qualitatively one with Lord, is explained. So as you know, the Supreme Personality of Godhead possesses qualities. Similarly, living entity also possesses qualities, and those qualities are seen by this person who is a Uttam Adhikari, and he's also seeing that Atma as a spiritual spark. And that's why we always, Prabhupada quoted this particular thing, Atma as a spirit soul. So it's a spiritual spark. This is also very important thing to be discussed, because a spiritual spark, unfortunately, Atma's existence, the existence of soul is not accepted by many people, and they consider body all in all. But then, there has to be a spirit, and without the spirit, nothing, the matter cannot move. So that's why the spiritual spark, that is Atma, and that person, that Jivatma, that Atma is qualitatively one with Lord. And whoever knows this is a knower of the true knowledge. And that person is completely free from illusion and anxiety. Whether there is no anxiety for that person and there is no illusion. So this particular, when we see this Vedanta Sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So Athato Brahma Jigyasa begins with Brahma is Param Satya, but it begins with knowing about Atma. And that's why we see Sankhya Yoga talks about, the knowledge about the body, knowledge about the whole material ingredients, and also talks about Atma and Paramatma. And that's why knowledge of Jiva and connection with the Ishvara is complete Sankhya Yoga. And that's why a person who is practicing spirituality, a person who has attained to the level of Madhyama or Uttamadhikari, is a person who has this knowledge that the body is not all in all, soul is everything. The soul is very, very important. And that particular soul is qualitatively one with Krishna. And whoever knows this is free from illusion and anxiety. There is no bhaya, or there is no brahma. It's illusion. Okay. Shoka, moha, bhaya, he is free from shoka, that is lamentation. Moha is illusion, and bhaya is anxiety. Okay, let's go through the purport. Can somebody read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept humble obeisances. Except for the Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari discussed above, no one can correctly see the spiritual position of a living being. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the spark of a fire are qualitatively one with the fire. Yet the sparks are not the fire as far as quantity is concerned. For quantity of heat and light present in the spark in the spark is not equal to that in the fire. The Mahabhagavata, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is a sense of oneness. Although, from the analytical point of view, heat and light are different from fire. There is no meaning to the word fire without the heat and light. In synthesis, therefore, heat, light, and fire are the same. In this mantra, the word ekatvam anupashyatah indicates that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scripture. The individual sparks of the supreme whole, the Lord, possesses almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, for the living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the supreme whole. To use another example, the quantity of salt present in a drop of seawater is never comparable to the quantity of salt present in the complete ocean. But the salt present in the drop is qualitatively equal in chemical composition of all the salt present in the ocean. If the individual living being were equal to the Supreme Lord, both qualitatively and quantitatively, there would be no question of his being under the influence of the material energy. In the previous mantra, it has already been discussed that no living being, not even the powerful demigods, can surpass the supreme being in any respect. Therefore, ekatvam does not mean that a living being is equal to the supreme lord in all respect. It does, however, indicate that in a broader sense, there is one interest, just as in a family, the interest of all members is one, or in a nation, the national interest is one, although there are many different individual citizens. Since the living entities are all members of the same supreme family, their interest and that of the supreme being are not different. Every living being is the son of the supreme being, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.5 and 6. All living creature, all living creature throughout the universe, including birds, reptiles, ants, aquatic trees, and so on, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belong to the family of Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, here, how a person can come out of an illusion is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is specifically taking this word ekatvam, because ekatvam, when you take a literally meaning of that, it talks about one. It talks about oneness. So if you know here the example, and the Prabhupada is giving two examples here. One is about the wood and fire, and another Prabhupada is giving example of a chemical formation of a salt. When Prabhupada is talking about this, Prabhupada is making very clear. Prabhupada is writing the Mahabhagavad, the great devotee sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic. There is a sense of oneness. So when it comes to a quality, the sense of oneness comes. But then the sense of oneness which Brahmavadi has is clearly different. The Brahmavadis, they say eventually once you get in contact with the Brahman, and then you merge into Brahman, you become one with God. Or everything is one. That is the understanding of oneness, where they say the living entity and Ishvara, the Jiva and Ishvara, living entity and Supreme Lord, both are one. That cannot be possible. How can we call him Supreme Lord? That's very important. If he is becoming one, and not every living entity can become a Supreme Lord. That's a Mayavad understanding where everyone can become Supreme Personality of God. And that's why here, this particular verse, when it is said Ekatvam Anupashyati, there is very important thing to understand that they possess. When the Uttamadhikari or Madhyamadhikari sees everybody on a spiritual position, they see everybody qualitatively same. Everyone, all the living entities are qualitatively same. But then energy and energetic, They are because energy cannot be without energetic, and energetic cannot be without energy. Shakti and Shaktiman are always together. So they appear to be like one, but there is no oneness because quantitatively there is a difference. That's very important. And that's why Prabhupada is giving example. If you see a wood and the wood is caught with the fire, and there's a fire, the fire is lit up in. So the wood possesses different qualities. So the quality, as soon as you see a fire, the spark which is coming out of that fire, that spark also has the similar qualities which the complete fire has. But the so spark cannot be differentiated. He has a similar quality. But then if you see a quantitative wise, it's just a small spark compared to the whole fire. Similarly, the quantity of a one drop of salt which is coming out of ocean and the quality of the drops, multiple drops or the complete ocean filled with salt, there is a qualitatively similarity. The chemical composition is same for both. So qualitatively they are same, but then quantitatively they are different. And that's why this philosophy of Achinta Veda Veda Tattva is very important. So we'll just go a little back in the history. 5,000 years before Lord Krishna was present, and Kali Yuga began, and apparently the Yoga Nashta Parantapa, which happened, that the knowledge of yoga, the knowledge of God, appeared to be lost. Many Brahmanas were not following the religion properly, and then Lord Buddha came, and then Lord Buddha he completely discarded Vedas. He said there is no need of following the Vedas. Vedas are talking about ahimsa paramo dharma. So he, that for that particular time span, that particular philosophy was utilized. It was not the philosophy to be practiced all in all throughout. So that Buddhist philosophy, Lord Buddha's philosophy was only for that particular timing, where he advised people not to follow Vedas because many sins were committed taking the support of Vedas. After that, Lord Shiva, he came as a Shankaracharya. So when he saw that everybody is becoming almost like an atheist, not following the philosophy, not following Vedas, and Vedas are like the main pillars. Vedas are the main teaching of our of our culture, of our Sanatan Dharma. So that's why Shiva he came as a Shankaracharya, and Adi Shankaracharya he established the importance of Vedas. And after establishing the importance of Vedas, Adi Shankaracharya gave the philosophy which is called as the Advaita philosophy. Advaita means non-dual, or they are not different, they are same. So Advaita philosophy, that's why it talks about Nirguna Nirakar. We also saw this particular thing in the previous shlokas, where the living entity, the Supreme Lord is also, glorified, or the objective used for him is Nirguna Nirakar, that there is no guna, there is no akar, but then Acharyas give very nice understanding of that Nirgun Nirakar means that he does not have any material qualities and he does not have any material form. So he gave Advaita philosophy, and the main reason for his coming was to establish Vedas back. So Vedas talk about this philosophy, which also talks about oneness. But then just oneness or merging into Brahman is not all in all. The absolute feature has Paramatma and Bhagavan, these important features, and Bhagavan feature is the supreme, and that's why he is a personality of Godhead, supreme personality of Godhead, that is Bhagavan. So after Shankaracharya, established this particular philosophy, then came Ramanujacharya, and then Ramanujacharya, Sripada Ramanujacharya, he very strongly established the philosophy of dual. They are different. The Atma and Paramatma are completely different because he had to, remove this understanding of Advaitavad. He had to remove this understanding of non-dual. And that's why he came and he established this philosophy of Dvaitavad. And then Dvaitavad is the philosophy where the living entity, he came with a philosophy called as a Vishishta Advaita. So Ramanujacharya, he established a philosophy named Vishishta Advaita. So Vishishta Advaita, where he is telling that how the living entity and the Supreme Lord are different. Then came Sripad Madhvacharya, who very firmly, very strongly emphasized on they being different. The living entity and soul and super soul are completely different. And that's why you see, his photo is like this, where he's talking about the Dvaita. Dvaita means the living entity and Supreme Lord are different. So there's Advaitavad, then there's Vishishta Advaita, then there is a Dvaita philosophy, which was established by Srila Madhvacharya. And then after that, when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came, he established the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Because Dvaita philosophy is also not a all-in-all. Dvaita philosophy is also not a very clear and complete understanding. It is a correct understanding. It is talking about how a living entity and Supreme Lord are different. That establishes the supremacy of Krishna. Madhvacharya very strongly emphasized this understanding because Advaita philosophy is all over India. It was spreaded. Everybody was just talking about Advaita, Advaita, Advaita. Then Ramanujacharya came. He tried convincing people that no, living entity and Supreme Lord is different. He established supremacy. But then Madhvacharya, being a very strong Acharya, he emphasized on this particular thing, and that's why he spoke about Dvaitavad. That is, the living entity and super soul. Soul and super soul are distinctly different. They are not same. Then came Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he summarized this particular thing, saying there Achintya, Bheda, Abheda Tattva. So Achintya is inconceivable, and Bheda is difference, and Abheda is similarity. So there's a difference and there is similarity. So through this example, what Prabhupada is trying to tell us, we can clearly understand. And also, a living entity is a spirit soul. There is a spiritual spark. The spiritual spark is what? It is, like, Prabhupada also gave example of sun and sun rays. So there is Prabhupada, when he's talking about Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, Prabhupada talks about it. Prabhupada says that, there is Brahman, that is the sun rays which are coming out. Then there is a Paramatma, where a Paramatma is that sun globe, which is presence of, Chaturbhuja Rupa of Krishna. And she's comparing that a Paramatma with the sun globe. And then there is a sun god, who is Bhagavan. So in this clear understanding, Prabhupada also talks about it, that, the sun rays are like a spiritual spark, which is coming out of this globe sun. So when he's talking that, he's telling that sun rays also possess the same qualities of a sun. But then if you see the quantitatively, they are different. The quantity of that particular quantity, which is, and that's why a living entity is Anu and Supreme Lord is Vibhu. And that's why he came, Madhvacharya has distinctly emphasized on supremacy of Sri Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme personal God. And then came Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who accepted this particular thing that yes, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and the living entity cannot become God. And the living entity is just a servant of Krishna, whereas Swarupa Krishna is Nityadas. And while explaining this, he said yes, that they have a similarity, that is quality similarity, and they have a difference, that is quantity difference. So it is very important for us to understand. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a complete understanding of a soul and super soul's connection, where soul and super soul, they're qualitatively same, but quantitatively they are different. And this is what Prabhupada is explaining here. So the Ekatvam Anupashyati does not indicate that they are same, they are oneness, but then yes, it talks about qualitatively one. So living entity and super soul are qualitatively one. Okay, we'll go ahead. Can somebody read spiritual entities?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment. As stated in Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12, 12, Anandamayo Bhyasa. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord and each of his part and parcels, is made for eternal enjoyment. The living beings who are engaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. Apart from the material platform, is there a spiritual platform where the Supreme Being enjoys himself with his innumerable associates? On that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the objects of enjoyment. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings because here the proper center of enjoyment is missed. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of sublime and spiritual rasa dance, where we are all meant to join him and enjoy life with one transcendental interest and without any clash. That is the highest platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as one realizes the perfect form of oneness, there can be no questions of illusions, moha, or lamentation, shoka. A godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization, such as that sponsored by the modern politicians, is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. That is the law of nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, no one but those who surrender at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord can surpass this stringent law of nature. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities. The results of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. Only by serving the Lord's interest can we perceive the Atma Bhuta interest mentioned herein. The Atma Bhuta interest mentioned in this mantra and the Brahma Bhuta interest mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54 are one and the same. The supreme Atma or soul is the Lord Himself, and the minute Atma is the living entity. The supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute beings, for the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. The Father extends Himself through His children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children they obey the Father's will, family affairs will run smoothly with one interest and the pleasing atmosphere. The same situation is transcendentally arranged in the absolute family of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Spirit. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes, continue.
The Parabrahman the Parabrahma is as much a person as the individual entities. Neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge, and the life eternal. That is the real position of spiritual existence. And as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. But such a Mahatma, a great soul, or a great soul is very rarely seen because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation, or the miseries of the material existence, or birth and death, which are all experienced in our present life. That is the information we get from this mantra of Sri Isopanisad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhupada is very nicely explaining here. First of all, Prabhupada is talking about the illusion. Illusion is nothing but the Maya. And then, Krishna, Prabhupada is quoting here verse number 7.14, Deivesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya, Maya Mameo Prapadyante, Maya Metantaram Vite. Where Prabhupada is talking about that how this, Maya is very, very prepared. Deivesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya, my material energy is very, very difficult to overcome. And she's completely she's controlling the three modes of material nature. And it's very difficult for her to, for anybody to overcome the Maya. And those who have surrendered, Maya, Mamevaya Prapadyante. So those who are surrendered to Krishna, Maya Metantaram, only they can overcome. So Prabhupada is talking here about those Uttamadhikari. They are free from illusion. And what is that illusion? Illusion, the biggest illusion a living entity has is that he can become a supreme lord. We very often say that everybody is here in this material world to become a supreme personality of Godhead. That's the biggest illusion a living entity has, that he can, and in fact, that is one of the cause, that is one of the reason of living entity staying away from Krishna or being in this material world. That he's thinking that I have a different interest than Krishna. So our interest has to be aligned with Krishna. That is very important. And then somebody at that level who sees everybody on an equal platform can understand this and can, have this very clear understanding. And that's why that person is free from illusion. That's very important. That's why he said that is the highest platform of spiritual interest. As soon as one is realized this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of illusion. So there is no question of illusion. There is a difference. The difference in the quality is also seen. Quantitatively they are same, but then qualitatively they are different. It is said that a living entity possesses 50 qualities, and then there's That when you say living entities, it also includes all the demigods and Brahmaji also. Then Lord Shiva possesses 54 qualities because Shiva Tattva is different. So there is Jiva Tattva, there is Shiva Tattva, and there is Vishnu Tattva. And then Vishnu, Lord Vishnu possesses 60 qualities, and Krishna possesses 4 more extra special qualities. And that's why he is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who has 64 qualities. But then those 50 qualities of living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are same. And then, but then when you say they are same, qualitatively they are same. But then quantity, there is a difference. And one who has understood this is free from illusion. One is free from material energy. Others, unfortunately, thinks themselves a Supreme Lord, and that's why they are in illusion. And then when the illusion is not satisfied, they lament. Shoka and Moha are the one which they are always captured with. So, Prabhupada is further saying the godless civilization arises from illusion. And the result of such a civilization is lamentation. So, the civilization should not be godless. That's very important thing. So, religion is very, very important. And that religion should not be just some mental speculation. It has to have a philosophical understanding. And that philosophical understanding of oneness and difference is very nicely explained in this particular verse. Further, Prabhupada talks about the spiritual family. Prabhupada is saying that the Supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute Atmas who are like children. He wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. So, Aham Bija Prajapita, Krishna is saying that I am the seed giving father. And when Krishna is saying that I am seed giving father, all the living entities are nothing but children. And then this is a whole family of Krishna, where everybody, the Supreme Lord and the living entities are together, and all other living entities also, they stay together. By nature, all the spiritual entities are meant for eternal enjoyment. Ananda Mayobhasat. This is very, very important to understand that all living entities are meant to have a pleasure, meant to have full bliss. The Ladini Shakti of a living entity, of the Supreme Lord, that is pleasure giving potency, is always giving pleasure to all the living entities. Ananda Mayobhasa is an experience which every living entity should experience. But because of the illusion, the living entity is not able to experience this particular, enjoyment, particular bliss, Ananda. They are not able to experience. So on the spiritual platform, Lord enjoys us with his innumerable associates. So Lord, all the souls, because they are nothing but the part and parcel of Krishna, they come from Krishna. They can also completely enjoy along with Krishna. So we discussed about this example of being servant to some rich person and being independently enjoying the property of that rich person. What will happen? So that is what is happening. We are here in this material world, thinking ourselves the real enjoyer, but we are completely dependent on Krishna, and then Krishna is a supremely independent. We saw this in verse number 4, that how Krishna is a supremely independent, and that supremely independent Lord is the real center of enjoyment. So our enjoyment in our life comes when we keep Krishna in the center. Or Krishna is the real enjoyer. That's a very clear understanding. We should again and again revise. We should again and again recollect. We should again and again remind ourselves that the real enjoyer, the real creator, the real designer, manager, controller, everything is Supreme Lord. We are not. And that's why whatever enjoyment we are getting is coming from Krishna, and we should always keep Krishna in the center of our enjoyment. And those who are surrendered to Krishna, Krishna's lotus feet can surpass all stringent laws of material nature. And that's why surrendering to Krishna is very, very important. Mameva prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Those who are surrendered to me, they can easily overcome this particular maya, that is illusion. Neither the Lord nor the Jiva are impersonal. Such a transcendental personalities are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity, Satchidananda. As soon as one is cognizant to this, one at once surrendered unto the Lord Krishna's feet. Such a great soul, Mahatmas, are very, very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That Mahatma is very, very rare. One who understands the uh, uh, quality and quantity of Krishna, and he surrenders completely to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so we saw the verse number 7 talks about qualitative oneness. Mainly talks about ekatvam anupashyati, that is qualitative oneness, not the quantitative. Is that clear? Any question on verse number 7?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Vishishta Dvaitvad, can you explain on that little?
Okay. So we saw Advaitavad. Advaita philosophy is very clear. It talks about oneness, at the living entity and the Supreme Lord are one. And then ultimately everything becomes one. That is the understanding of Advaita philosophy. And that's why Advaita philosophy is talking, basically it is Advaita. There is no duality. But then Vishishta Advaita is specifically spoken by Sripad Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya came to establish this understanding that they are different, they are not one. So Vishishta Advaita also talks about, it is Vishishta, and then in that Vishishta Advaita, all these words like Nirguna, Nika, Nirakar are very nicely explained. How he is not having a material qualities, he has a spiritual quality. Similarly, here, the living entity, though in the material world, he also has a spiritual spark, and that living entity is individual. Vishishta Advaita talks about the individuality of the entities, the living entities, and that living entities, in the Advaita philosophy, all the living entities are one. That was understood. But here, Vishishta Advaita talks about all living entities are different. They are not one. And similarly, God, the super soul, and soul are also not one. They are not same. They cannot become one. And then Vishishta Advaita talks about they are being different. So all living entities are different, and Supreme Lord and the Jiva and Ishvara are also, they are not one, they are different. So that is the Vishishta Advaita philosophy. Later on, Madhvacharya also focused on these two things, but he specifically emphasized they being completely different. So Vishishta Advaita does not speak about Bheda, Abheda Tattva, which we see later, which Gauranga Mahaprabhu gave. But then he was trying to establish the dualities, the dual nature of a living entity and the Supreme Lord. But that was very strongly emphasized by Sripad Madhvacharya, and that's why Dvaita philosophy came, that they are completely different. And that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu modified it, saying that they are different and they are similar. And that's why the philosophy of Achinta Bheda Veda. Okay, bro?
But Prabhu, Vishishta Dvaita and Dvait looks like little similar.
They are similar. They are similar. But then emphasis on this particular thing. See, when the Advaita philosophy was very much rampant, Ramanujacharya very softly gave this particular message. But when Madhvacharya came, we very strongly emphasizing they being completely different. So that's why.
And in Advait, it is oneness. So
Yes.
whether it is speaking of Brahman, only Brahman?
Yes.
Okay.
Advaita philosophy talks only about the Brahman. It does not give understanding of Paramatma and Bhagwan. As soon as they give understanding of Paramatma and Bhagwan, then the philosophy does not work.
Yeah. Okay, Bhaj.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Nandratana.
Yes, bro.
My question is the enjoyment of a liberated soul and enjoyment of a pure bhakta, is there difference in quality of their enjoyment?
Enjoyment of a
Because
liberated
Lahadini potency is...
I did not get the second word. Enjoyment of a liberated soul and enjoyment of who?
Pure bhakta.
Sorry, bro. Your voice is not very clear.
Pure bhakta, pure bhakta.
Pure bhakta. Okay.
Quality difference, enjoyment in quality, not in quantity. Qualitatively, is there difference?
So the word liberated here is very important to understand. The liberated means one who is liberated, who is free from the clutches of Maya. And then one who is free from the clutches of Maya is also Uttam Adhikari. In our language, we call him as a pure devotee. So one who is liberated from the Maya is a pure devotee. One who is liberated is a free from Maya. So when you say the liberated person and pure devotee, there is no difference. Obviously, when it comes to our understanding of Krishna consciousness, of mukti and being a pure devotee, yes, there is a difference of these two terminologies. A person who is trying to attain a moksha or mukti is behind, five muktis, but a devotee of Krishna is not behind mukti. Especially a pure devotee of Krishna is only in the mood of serving Krishna, and that's why the pure devotee is very, very, very different than one who is aspiring just for a mukti or a liberation. But then when you're talking, a person is liberated, one person has attained a moksha, or a person is a pure devotee. Yes, they are experiencing a spiritual enjoyment. Now, when it comes to a spiritual enjoyment, the person can connect himself. A liberated soul can be can see a absolute truth as Brahman. A liberated soul can see absolute truth as Paramatma. A liberated soul can see absolute truth as Bhagavan. When you are seeing a pure devotee of Krishna, he always sees absolute truth as Bhagavan. But then there are some Muktivadis, or there are some liberated soul. They see absolute truth as Brahman. When they are in Brahman, there is a spiritual bliss before being in Brahman, but that is not. Prabhupada very often says those who are in Brahman, they either get liberated by the association of a Vaishnava, or many times they have to come back to this material world, do some social service, eventually get connected to Krishna, and with the connection with Krishna, they will go back to Godhead. But if your question is there is a difference between their happiness, their pleasure, I won't say that there is some difference.
Is there a difference of Ladini potency is present in Brahman, liberated soul, enjoyment of that which get pure bhakti?
Prabhu, I'm not getting your question. Some of your voice. Can somebody hear? If anybody is able to understand, can you repeat the question?
Is there Ladini potency
Is the
present?
Ladini potency
Present in liberated soul, which is present in Brahman?
Is it okay? Ladini potency, is it present in Brahman? Okay, good question. So Ladini potency is a pleasure giving potency, and that pleasure giving potency is present. Yes, it is present not only in the spiritual world, it is also present in material world. And that's why those who practice Krishna consciousness, those who practice spirituality in a proper way, they experiences bliss even in this material world. Even if somebody is a pure devotee, how somebody has attained that particular level, who is completely surrendered to Krishna, can experience with pleasure the Ladini potency's mercy, or the pleasure potency's divine mercy, even in this material. What to speak about the spiritual world? I mean, Brahman is a part of the spiritual world, yes, he will experience. But what happens because of the jiva being active? When a person experiences, when there is rasa being developed, when a person is having exchange, when the exchange happen, when you are serving someone, or when you are having some connection, so that connection is established, the service is done to a person. So that's why a Brahman, on the level of Brahman, there is a happiness, but that happiness is not all in all. He has to experience that happiness, and to experience that happiness, he has to be with person. Like Krishna is telling to Arjuna in 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, why I'm telling you this knowledge? Because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So Krishna is very clearly telling that one who is in relations with Krishna and one who is devoted to Krishna can understand this knowledge very well. Similarly, the happiness of the Ladini potency, which is coming from the Ladini potency, can be completely understood when person is in relationship with God. And that's why that personal relationship is very, very important. So yes, your question, is there is a difference? Yes, there is a difference, I would say. Because at the level of Brahman, he does not experiences that pleasure because he is not in connection. He just alone. And Jivera Swarupa Krishna Das, Krishna Nitya Das, Jiva cannot be happy without serving Krishna. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have
Yes.
one doubt, Prabhuji. Like, I need to clarify the doubt. Prabhuji, like externally, we are accepted that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Dityadas. I'm the servant of Lord Krishna and Guru, like whatever our Guru Parampara. But
Yes.
Prabhuji, in mind, Prabhuji, it's not at all possible, Prabhuji. Like we will get some, according to Bhagavad Gita, we are Prakriti, Krishna is the only alone Purusha, Prabhuji. But in mind, Prabhuji, we will not get that mood, Prabhuji. Like I am in the mind, we will get the mood of that I am Purusha, I am the enjoyer, Prabhuji. But externally, we are doing, externally, Prabhuji, we are doing that things, Prabhuji. But in mind, Prabhuji, like mind is the number one enemy, Prabhuji. Like according to mind is the number one enemy, Prabhuji. Like in mind also, we need to get this mood, Prabhuji. What we need to do, Prabhuji?
Good, nice question. So our mind is always telling us our sanskaras for so many lifetimes in different bodies are always forcing us to accept that you are a Ishvara. So that's why Prabhupada talks that yes, living entity is Ishvara, but he's a minute Ishvara. He's a small Ishvara. And Krishna is a Paramishvara. So first of all, we have to accept this particular thing that I am not Ishvara. I am not God. And how do we understand that with so many difficulties we are facing, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanam, Darshanam, we are stuck up in this particular material world with these four material miseries. That itself is a sufficient thing to convince us that I am not the God. Okay, so as soon as we don't have this understanding of I am not the God, then who am I? It's a very clear understanding. Who is that? I am a servant of God. So when you start serving Krishna, you have a different experience. When you are really serving Krishna with a nice service attitude, we will surely experience the bliss. Why the living entity is doing that? Why living entity wants to be Krishna? Because he wants to enjoy. He wants to experience a happiness. So in that service to Krishna, if you are able to experience the similar kind of happiness or much more, which is even compared as a Paramananda, you can even experience the happiness of Paramananda. Then a living entity will get convinced about this. I always quote this particular thing that you go to a science laboratory, perform an experiment. After performing experiment, you get the conclusion. And after getting a conclusion, you get convinced of that particular thing. So this particular philosophy that I am not a Ishvara, I am a servant, or this particular Krishna, that Krishna is the only Purusha and I am a Prakriti. I am to be enjoyed by Krishna. Very difficult to get convinced at this point because of samskaras of so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes we are trying to convince ourselves that I am Ishvara, I am the controller, I am the Purusha. Or after getting this body of a Purusha, we think that yes, I am the enjoyer. And that's why, for the renouncant, it is quite easy to accept this particular thing. But a person in a Grahastha life, it is difficult for him to accept that I am not a Purusha. And that's a very painful thing. And many times our Purusha ego comes out. We think that I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. I know nobody can insult me. You are on the road, you are and somebody else comes and dash, somebody will come and bang upon your vehicle, and then you come out and you start shouting, yelling, start fighting, thinking that I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. How can somebody disturb my enjoyment? And this mentality, this particular consciousness, these samskaras will take time to completely washed away. First of all, we have to accept this particular philosophy. After accepting, we have to start practicing. How do we practice? We chant Hare Krishna and tell Krishna that I am your servant, please engage me in the service. We get take an opportunity to render service whenever is it possible. Either you make a chandan paste for Krishna, you dress Krishna, or whatever way you get the flowers from the market, clean the flower, clean the pots. After doing all these things practical, we will experience a happiness. And we will get realized that without becoming God, I can get the happiness by serving God. And then eventually we will surely come to this understanding that yes, I am not the real enjoyer. Krishna is the real enjoyer. Who am I? I am to be enjoyed by Krishna. Let Krishna enjoy me. And we are actually doing this particular thing in our day-to-day life also. When a student goes in front of a teacher or a principal, he has to be obedient. He has to follow the norms. He has to serve him. Without doing that, he cannot actually get the knowledge. Or when it comes to a boss, you are working in a company, we become servant to that boss. And then when the boss gives money, we are happy. If the boss says that you keep serving me, I'm not giving money, we will not be happy about it. So you are serving Krishna, the supreme boss. By serving him, we are surely going to experience that bliss. And this is experience. Sometimes the festivals are very hectic. We have to serve for like almost 14-15 hours continuously, sometimes no night sleep. And then after that, after the whole event, after the whole festival, it is not an emotional, some emotional thought process, but then actually within you experience that happiness. And in fact, that is one of the reason of us continue to practice Krishna consciousness, because by practicing Krishna consciousness, somewhere we have experienced happiness, and that is making us convinced, yes, this particular process works. And when the process works, the theory is also correct. The theory is talking about, I am not a Purusha, Krishna is the Parama Purusha. So we accept Krishna as Parama Purusha. Okay, bro? So it is a slow and steady process. It will take time. We have to have faith and continue practice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anybody else? And as you were mentioning that your mind is a worst enemy, but we have to make that mind friend. When you are studying 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there are shlokas after shloka talks about, how mind is a worst enemy, and we have to turn this enemy into a friend. That is also very, very important. Because this mind is only telling us that you are the enjoyer. Anyone else wants to ask any question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, bro.
Prabhu, actually relate. I don't know how to put this question. I'll try putting it properly. Regarding the Purusha impression in our mind. So, Prabhu, like this Purusha impression, is it from? Is it also from animal species, or it's our previous human species life that we build in this Purusha impression in our mind?
Purusha impression comes when you left the spiritual world. So you're carrying that impression, don't know from when. It's a long-term, long impression. And it is not necessary because you are in the body of a male. This particular impression, this particular samsara is also in the body of a woman also. Basically, the soul is covered with this particular impression of being a Purusha. What is being a Purusha? Means enjoyer. A man is trying to enjoy a woman is also trying to enjoy a man. So this enjoyer mentality is a very strong. And why this particular enjoyer mentality is there? Because we wanted to always enjoy separate than Krishna. And because we wanted to enjoy separate than Krishna, that's why we are here in this material world. That's why we left Krishna and we have come here. So this particular tendency is not from few births or from animalistic life. It is from long, long time. And wherever you see the the enjoy mentality is everywhere, either in the animal body or a human body. But this is when you left Krishna. This particular impression started.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead then. Verse number 8.
Prabhuji, one question.
Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna. So, as you stated, Prabhu, when higher class of Varnashram misusing the Vedas, at that time Buddha incarnation came and destroyed the Vedas. So, at that time, what is the philosophy they are following, which is different from Advait philosophy?
Because the hinsa was happening too much when the Brahmanas were doing hinsa and Brahmanas were taking benefit of this knowledge of Vedas, and Vedas also talk about sacrifice, and they were doing sacrifice. So a lot of hinsa was happening, and that's why he established this philosophy of ahimsa paramo dharma, that ahimsa, non-violence, is all in all. The compassion for the living entity, non-violence, is the philosophy to be practiced. And that's why you reject Vedas, which talks about hinsa, which talks about sacrifice. And then they rejected Vedas. And after rejecting Vedas, they established philosophy of ahimsa paramadharma, that the non-violence is the real religion, perfect dharma. And then non-violence was spreaded everywhere, established everywhere.
Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण गुरु जी। प्रभु जी,
Yes.
अगर वेदास में लिखा हुआ था कि हम मतलब सैक्रिफाइस करना ठीक है बोल के, तो वो क्यों मतलब वो रॉन्ग कैसे हुए ब्राह्मण
Okay, that is coming. We are going to discuss in next verse about Vidya, Avidya. We will discuss in detail about that. Okay, bro?
ओके ओके
Yes, it is coming. There are 3 verses talks about Vidya, Avidya, and then the results of Vidya, Avidya, all of that. So we will talk about it more in detail. If I forget to answer your question that time, you please remind me again. But then that is coming in verse number 10, 11, I think.
ओके ब्रो।
Okay. 9, 10, 11. We will discuss it. Okay. God, verse number 8. Saparyagaschcha Saparyagaschcha Chukra Makaya Mavrana Maswa Viram Shuddham Papa Vidya Makavir Manishu Paribhu Savambhu Yatat Tothana Vyadadhacha Tibhibhya Samabhya. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is embodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without whence, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So we just spoke about the qualities of Krishna. So there are some qualities of Krishna which are described here. So God's eternal qualities are described here. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all. So who is that such a person? That is Uttama Adhikari, who is seeing everyone on the equal platform. Also, he is the one who is seeing the qualitative oneness of the Krishna. And when you are talking about these qualities, here the qualities of that Supreme Personality of Godhead are described more in detail. Such a person must factually knows the greatest of all. So Krishna is the greatest of all. That is the personality of Godhead, who is embodied, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without whence, pure, uncontaminated, self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So, Sukram is omnipotent, Akayam, unembodied, Avarana, without reproach, Ashnaviram, without whence, Shudham, and antiseptic, Apapa Vidya, prophylatic, Kavihi, omniscient, Manishi, philosopher, and Paribhu, that is greatest of all. Swayambhu is self-sufficient. Yatharth, Yat, just in a pursuance of. Okay. So these are the qualities of Supreme Personal Godhead which are spoken. So this qualified person who's a Uttam Adhikari is talking about here, is spoken about Shukram, omnipotent. Omnipotent is can do any activity. He's unlimited. He has unlimited potencies. He's omnipotent, and then he can do any activity without any limbs of his divine body. So this many times it is said that we are offering bhoga to the Lord. We are offering naivedya to the Lord. When you are offering bhoga, some atheist people will say that you just offer the plate and the plate has come as it is. Your God is not a person, he's not eating it. And that's why this omnipotent philosophy or omnipotent potency, how he can do any activity with any of his limbs. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashanti panti karayanti chiram jaganti. This particular shloka of Brahma Samhita also talks about this particular philosophy of being omnipotent. That how a Supreme Person of Godhead can do any activity of his, of his body with any of his limb of his divine body. So, his eyes, they just by through the eyes, Lord can eat. Or, through a tongue, he can see. So, from any bodily limbs can do any other work. And that's why he is a Supreme Lord. He cannot be bound with the, our understanding or our material body. He is omnipotent, that he has unlimited potencies. And he's one of the way of understanding is that he can perform any activity with his body. Then akayam, without material body. Kaya means the body, and his unembodied is does not. Akayam is unembodied. That means he does not have this material body, which is made up of Pancha Mahabhuta. or which is, a gross material body. So Akaya means that he has a spiritual body. Or, the soul and super soul are different, or soul and body, the Sharira and Atma are different. Soul and body are different. That is with the living entities. But for the Supreme Lord, the soul and super soul, there is nothing called as soul and super soul, or there is nothing called as the soul present in the body. Like, Dr. Radhakrishnan talking about Manmanabho Mad Bhakto Madhyajimam Namaskaro, so shlok which comes in this particular verse which comes in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So he is telling that there is a spark inside Krishna. One should surrender to that spark, not to this person who is standing as a Krishna. Now, Krishna, when he's talking about this verse, he's keeping his hand on the chest saying, Man mana bhavad bhakto madhyaji mam naskaro. You offer obeisances to me, you surrender to me. But then this person, he came up with this understanding saying that no, you surrender to the light within the Krishna. No, there is no difference between his body and the soul. The soul, he is that super soul. So Akaya, that means he does not have a material body. He is without a material body. Then comes Avarnam. Avarna is without any faults. He does not have any faults. Avarnam, Prabhupada is translating it as without reproach. That means he is not having any faults. If somebody is trying to fault Krishna, or if somebody is trying to find fault in Krishna, that is what person does not have a understanding. And that's why when Krishna is talking about knowing about himself, Janma karma cha me divyam, evam yo veti tattvataha, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. Here Arjuna, that person will never take birth again. Who is that person? Who knows about Janma and Karma of Krishna? How? They are divya. Janma karma cha me divyam, that they are very divine. Evam yo veti tattvataha, he has to understand this particular knowledge about birth and activities of Krishna, which are very divine. Tattvataha, philosophically, as it is, he has to understand. And when a person understands the activity and the birth of Krishna, which is very divine, as he understands that is as it is, this particular knowledge, that person will never take birth again, it is mentioned. So that Krishna is not with the faults. Unfortunately, because of our mentality, we try to bring Krishna on our platform and then try to find fault in Krishna. So that he is without any faults. Then Ashna Viram, without veins. So we see that, our material body is full of veins, and there are some, pure blood, impure blood is flowing from this place to that place. And these veins are carrying so many things, and these veins are actually like a life supply for the living entity. And the living entity's body is working on that life supply. But when Krishna possesses body like a living entity on this material world, his body is not like material. And that's why you don't see veins in the body of Krishna like we see in the material body. Ashna Viram. Then Shuddham, he is very pure with no trace of impurities. Krishna does not have any impurities. He is completely pure. He is completely Shuddha. And that's why whoever is, established in Shuddha Sattva is a person who is, who is completely pure, can connect himself with God. And that's why this heart has to be completely pure when we are trying to invite Krishna into this heart. So that Krishna is completely pure. His apapa vidhum, uncontaminated by the sins and piety. A living entity is captured in this material world either because of the sin or because of the pious credit. So, because of the piety or sinful things, a person is bound here with the three modes of material nature. But a living entity or a supreme person of Godhead neither caught up because of the sin or piety. He is completely free from a sin and the piety. His apapa vidham is uncontaminated by the sin and piety. Then comes Kavira, he's omniscient, as his supreme person of God is called as the omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. The omnipotent is his divine potency. He can perform anything with any activity, and omniscient is the achintya understanding, that is his he cannot be understood with the limited mind. And similarly, there is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. He is present everywhere. At the same time, he is not present everywhere. So similarly, this omniscient is that he is divinely, sorry, omniscient, is that it's very difficult to understand him. But by his mercy, you can easily understand him also. Then Manishi is the intelligent philosopher. Manishi Prabhupada is talking here as a philosopher, that he's very, very intelligent and nobody can be so intelligent and philosophical like Lord Sri Krishna. And then we see the Vedas, we see Bhagavata, we see Bhagavad Gita, are the words which are coming out of this greatest philosopher. Then Paribhuva is greatest of all, he is the control of all. Then Swayambhur is a self-sufficient or independent. That Supreme Lord is a self-sufficient and independent. And that Supreme Personality of Godhead is fulfilling everyone's desire, time immemorial. Upadrushta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, that Lord who is situated in everybody's heart as a Paramatma is observing and is also fulfilling the desires of all the living entity. Upadrushta, Anumanta. And then he is the Bharta, who is the one who is protector, provider of everything, Bharta, Bhokta, and he is the enjoyer. It's very important to understand. Okay, so there are the qualities of Supreme Lord which are spoken here. We'll just go through the purport ones. Can somebody read?
Here is a description of the transcendental and eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental forms, which is not at all similar to the forms of the mundane world. The forms of the living entities in this world are embodied in material nature, and they work like a material machine. The anatomy of material body must have a mechanical construction with veins and so forth. But the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord has nothing like veins. It is clearly stated here that he is unembodied, which means that there is a no difference between his body and his soul. Not is he forced to accept a body according to the law of nature. As we are in materially conditioned life, the soul is different from the gross embodiment and subtle mind. For the Supreme Lord, however, there is never any such difference between him and his body and mind. He is the complete whole, and his mind, body, and he himself are all one and the same. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, there is a similar description of the Supreme Lord. He is described there as Sach Chit Anand Vigraha, which means that he is the eternal form, fully representing transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. As such, he does not require a separate body or mind, as we do in material existence. The Vedic literature clearly stated that Lord transcendental body is completely different from ours. Thus, he is sometimes described as a formless. This means that he has no forms like ours, and that he is devoid of a form we can convince of. In the Brahma Samhita 5.32, it is further stated that with each and every part of his body, he can do the work of the other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hand, accept things with his legs, see with his hand and feet, eat with his eyes, etc. In the Shruti mantras, it is also said that although the Lord has no hand and leg like ours, he has a different types of hand and legs by which he can accept all that we offer him and run faster than anyone. These points are confirmed in the eighth mantra through the use of word like Sukarma, omnipotent. The Lord worshipable forms, Archa Vigraha, which is installed in temple by authorized Acharya who have realized the Lord in the terms of mantra seven, in none different from the original form of the Lord. The Lord originally form is that of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna expand himself into an unlimited number of forms, such as Baladeva, Rama, Narsimha, and Vara. All of these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, the Arch Vigraha worshipped in temple is also an expanded form of the Lord. By worshipping the Arch Vigraha, one can at once approach the Lord, who accepts the service of a devotee by his omnipotent energy. The Arch Vigraha of the Lord descends at the request of the Acharya. The holy teachers and works exactly in the original way of the Lord by virtue of the Lord omnipotence. Foolish people who have no knowledge of Sri Isopanisad or any of the other Shruti mantra consider the Arch Vigraha which is worshipped by pure devotee Arjvika, please people who have no knowledge of Sri Isopanisad or any the other Shruti mantra consider the Arch Vigraha which is worshipped by pure devotee to be made of material element. This form may be seen as a material by the imperfect eyes of foolish people or Kanishta Adhikari. But such people do not know that the Lord, being omnipotent and omniscient, can transform matter into spirit and spirit into matter as he desire. In Bhagavad Gita 9.11-12, the Lord regrets the fallen condition of man with, with little knowledge who derided him because he descended like a man into this world. Such purely informed person do not know the omnipotence of the Lord. Thus, the Lord does not manifest himself in the full of mental speculator. He can appreciate only in proportion to one's surrender to him. The fallen condition of living entities is due entirely to forgetfulness of their relationship with God. In this mantra, as well as in many other Vedic mantra, it is clearly stated that the Lord has been supplying goods to the living entities from time immemorial. A living beings desire something, and the Lord supplies the object of the desire in proportion to one's qualification. If a man wants to be
Hare Krishna.
high court of judge, he must acquire not only the necessary qualification but also the consent of the authority who can award the title of high court judge. The qualification in themselves are not sufficient for one to occupy the post. It must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entity in proportional to their qualification, but good qualification in themselves are not sufficient to enable one to receive award. The mercy of the Lord is also required.
Okay, bro, fine. So here, the very important thing which is explained through all this quality is that the Lord is the person who has a very beautiful form. Satchidananda Vigraha. When we say Satchidananda Vigraha, Sat, Chit and Ananda are the three potencies which he possesses. Sat is Sanatana, Chit is full of knowledge, and Ananda is full of bliss. Similarly, he's also has a very beautiful form. Like these words which are coming here. of unembodied, akaya, or anaviram, sorry, ashnaviram. Ashnaviram is also without the vents. So he is a person without vents, without being, without having the material body, or without even being having a material vents inside the body. But he is a person who has a very, very beautiful form, and that is to be appreciated very much. So how is this form? His form is a spiritual form, and that's why a spiritual form is explained by Prabhupada very nicely. Prabhupada is saying Lord is a formless, Lord is not a formless. He has a transcendental form different from the material form in this world. He is not forced to accept a body according to the laws of nature as we are. And that's why Krishna, when he was speaking Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was almost 125-year-old. A person with the 125-year-old is having a very dull memory. He has henchback, and he's very fragile. He has hardly any energy. But Krishna was, when he was standing, he was looking like a 16-year-old boy. Nava Yovanamcha is one of the qualities which is described, that his beauty is ever lasting, and his beauty is ever increasing. That is the glory, and that's why he cannot be compared with any material form or material body. Person after 50, 60, 70 becomes old. His skin is gathered, and his vision is gone, his teeth are fallen, he has gray hairs, he has no energy in his body. At the age of 125, hardly anybody lives. If somebody is living, that person will not have any energy, no vision, no memory, so many problems. But that is not the case with Krishna. Krishna is the one who is Nava Yovanam. His beauty is completely different, and that's why his body is a spiritual form. So that spiritual form can be into Varaha Rupa, Narsimha Rupa, Kurma Rupa, or Parushama, Rama, Krishna, any form you take. He is most attractive, and his body is not like the material body. He has a spiritual form. And that's why this particular form of Lord is completely different. When you're talking about this, he's a complete whole. We saw in the beginning only Om Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vishishyate. We saw how a Lord is a complete whole. Prabhupada is again emphasizing on that particular thing, saying that in a conditioned life, the soul is different from the gross body and subtle body. But the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha, complete whole, with an eternal form of a knowledge, bliss, and his mind, body, and he himself are one. So Brahma Samhita 5.1 talks about it, like how a Lord and his body, mind, and everything is one. He is not different. So Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as a God, who is known as a Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. It is nicely explained. Then further, Prabhupada is talking about Brahma Samhita, verse number 53, that he does not have a material body or material form, and he has a completely spiritual form, and his body can do any activity. His legs can do the activity of hands can do the activity of legs, and that's why Brahma Samhita, verse number 32 talks about 5.32. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti Anand Chinmaya Sadujjvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantive stability, is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged function of the all organs, and eternally see maintenance manifest the infinite universe, both spiritual and mundane. So, to understand this book, Isopanisad, the Brahma Samhita is quoted many ways. And that's why one should study Brahma Samhita very nicely, thoroughly. It's very good. Study. Then Prabhupada is talking about Arsha Vigraha form, and this Arsha Vigraha form, how that is also complete. Pratima nahi, to be Sakshat Brajendra Nandana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you are not just a Pratima, you are not just a stone, you are not just a, some log of wood, or you are not just a mud. You are a divinely original form of Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not. The Archa Vigraha is not different than Brajendra Nandan. It's not different than the original form of Lord. So Krishna expands himself into unlimited number of forms. Prabhupada is writing here, such as Baladeva, Rama, Narasimha, Varaha. And all these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. So one should not differentiate. One should not say, no, they are different and Vishnu may be different. Like there is this understanding in Maharashtra. They say that Vitthal is not Krishna. Vitthal is not Vishnu. Vitthal is the Supreme Lord, but he is not Vishnu. That is not the clear understanding, that the right and the right approach towards the philosophy. The right approach of philosophy is that these personalities are non-different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then Archa form is also glorified. And to understand Archa form, one should understand this Shruti mantras like Isopanisad and other Shruti mantras, by which we can understand how this particular form called Archa is non-different than the original form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So Archa Prabhupada is also mentioning that it descends on the request of Acharya, works exactly as the Lord does. He is omnipotent, approachable by the worship, accept the service of the devotee by his omnipotent energy, and seen as a material by the imperfect eyes of a foolish people, ignorant of scriptures, or a Kanishtadhikari. So Kanishtadhikari does not see that Archa Vigraha as a supreme lord, and they are seen as a with the materialistic view they are seen. Okay. Can somebody go ahead reading?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Ordinarily, the living being does not know what to ask from the Lord, nor which post to seek. When the living being comes to know his constitutional position, however, he asks to be accepted into the transcendental association of the Lord in order to render transcendental loving service unto him. Unfortunately, living beings under the influence of material nature ask for many other things, and they are described in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41 as having divided or splayed intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is one, but mundane intelligence is diverse. In Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah, 7.5.30 and 31, it is stated that those who are captivated by the temporary beauties of the external energy forget the real aim of life, and which is to go to back to Godhead. Forgetting this, one tries to adjust things by various plans and programs, but this is like chewing what has already been chewed. Nonetheless, the Lord is so kind that He allows the forgetful living entity to continue in this way without interference. Thus, this mantra of Sri Isopanisad uses the very appropriate word yathatha tathyatah, indicating that the Lord rewards the living entities just in pursuance of their desires. If a living being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference. And if he wants to go back home, back to Godhead, the Lord helps him. God is described here as Paribhuhu, the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to him. Other living beings are described here as the beggars who ask goods from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desires. If the entities were equal to the Lord's in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no questions of their begging from the Lord, even for so-called liberation. Real liberation means going back to Godhead. Liberation, as conceived by an impersonalist, is a myth, and begging for sense gratification has a continued eternally unless the beggar comes to his spiritual senses and realizes his constitutional position. Only the Supreme Lord is self sufficient. When the Lord Krishna appeared on the earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation as a personality of Godhead through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons such as Aghasura, Bakasura, and Shaktasura. And there was no questions of his having acquired such power through any extraneous endeavor. He lifted Govardhana hill without ever practicing weightlifting. He danced with the gopis without social restrictions and without reproach. Although the gopis approached him and with paramour's feelings of the love, the relationship between the gopis and the Lord Krishna was worshipped even by Lord Chaitanya, who was a strict sannyasi and rigid follower of disciplinary regulations. To confirm that the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated, Sri Isopanishad describes him as Shuddham, antiseptic, yeah, and apapaviddham, prophylactic, and he is antiseptic in the sense that even in impure things can become purified just by touching him. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9.30 and 31, a devotee may appear to be sudurachara, not well behaved in the beginning, but he should be accepted as a pure because he is on the right path. This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. The Lord is also a papa vidham because sin cannot touch him. Even if he acts in the way that appears to be sinful, such actions are all good, for there is no question of his being affected by the sins. Because in all circumstances he is Shuddham, most purified, he is often compared to the sun. The sun extracts moisture from many untouchable places on the earth, yet it remains pure. In fact, it purifies obnoxious things by virtue of its sterilizing powers. If the sun, which is material object, is so powerful, then we can hardly begin to imagine the purifying strength of the all-powerful Lord. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Right. So here the qualities of Lord is explained by Prabhupada. Prabhupada is first of all talking about how Lord being the maintainer. And here, how Lord has been supplying goods to all the jivas from time immemorial. His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj describes this particular thing very nicely. He says, there are 600 crore people on this planet, earthly planet. So 600 crore people need at least 600 crore kg of food every day, considering the 3 meals. And if they're eating 1 kg per person, so that is for the human being. So can some organization or can some country organize this so much? No, it's not possible. It's only can be organized 600 crores of kg of food arranging. That is arranged by God, and that is not arranged for one day. That is arranged for 1 week, not 1 week, 1 month and 1 year, and then time immemorial. Krishna is arranging that food. Krishna is arranging that arranging oxygen. Krishna is arranging water. Everything is arranged for the living entity by God. God is the real maintainer. And that similarly, the real maintainer, the qualification, the sanction, Prabhupada is talking about it. With a good qualification and a desire in themselves are not sufficient for one to receive awards. Person is receiving award and just saying that, oh, I have a good desire and I have good qualification, but he is not taking part into that activity. That's not right. It must be sanctioned by the superior authority. The Lord mercifully awards enjoyment to the jivas in the proportion to their qualification. So whatever qualification person has, person receives the reward. And then Prabhupada is giving the reward is received on the basis of a sanctioning of the superior authority. The superior authority is no other than the Krishna. So Prabhupada is giving an example of High Court judge that a person can any Tom, Dick, Harry can go and sit on the position of a High Court judge. Somebody has to sanction it. The superior authorities has to sanction. The President of India has to sanction it. Then only person can sit as a judge. So similarly, the Supreme Lord Krishna has to sanction. Then only a living entity can actually possess something or enjoy something. Further, Prabhupada is talking about unworthy appreciation. Living entity being influenced by the Maya, asks the Lord by many material things due to splayed intelligence, captivated by the temporary duties of Maya. They forget the real aim of life, going back to Godhead. Spiritual intelligence is one, but the mental intelligence is diverse. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahu shakhai anantasya buddhiyo vyavasayina. Krishna Prabhupada used to say that this is the verse which always helped him to establish this organization, this institute of his name is ISKCON. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Those who are self-realized person, they have a one-pointed attention. But those who are engrossed because in the illusion, Maya, material energy, they have their intelligence is multi-branch. Bahu shakhai arantasya buddhayo vyavasayina. And because of that, their intelligence is not stable. And because the intelligence is not stable, these people are always diverted and disturbed. So spiritual intelligence is one, and mundane intelligence is multi-branched, diverse. The jiva who comes to know his constitutional position asks to be appreciated into Lord association to lovingly serve him. So the jiva who is who's overcoming conditional living conditional life, and he is accepted by the Lord's loving association. And when the living entity comes in the center of a Lord, Lord is so kind that he allows the forgetful jiva to continue material life. If jiva wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him without interference. If the jiva wants to go back to Godhead, Lord helps him too. So, ये था हम प्रपंचन थे कि you understand this by a better understanding that Krishna is fulfilling the desires of a living entity. A living entity, whatever he desires, either want to get to hell or go to spiritual world, he will fulfill his desire, and that's why a spiritual intelligence has to be strong. So Lord is the maintainer, sanctioner, and reciprocator. That's what we saw. Then further, Prabhupada is talking about look how he is the greatest of all. That Paribhu is explained here. The God is described here as a Paribhu. He is the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to God. Other living entities are described as a beggar who asks God for him, who asks goods for him, and who supplies the things they desire. Begging the jivas who are equal to the Lord and are also omnipotent and omniscient, then they need not beg for him, even for so-called liberation. And then Prabhupada is further talking about the real liberation, means going back to God. Liberation as the conceived of by an impersonalist is myth. The liberation considered by impersonalist is a myth, Prabhupada is saying. And the begging for the spiritual satisfaction has to continue eternally unless the beggar comes to the spiritual sense and realizes his constitutional position. So our constitutional position is Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. Our position is as a spirit soul to be in the spiritual world in the association of Krishna. So Lord is the greatest of all, and the living entities, not all in all, living entities are also just a servant of God. Then further it is said that he is a self-sufficient. Only the Supreme Lord is a self-sufficient. So we saw Lord is a maintainer, sanctioner, and reciprocator. Lord is a Paribhu, greatest of all. Now we are seeing here he is a self-sufficient and intelligent. He is so Swayambhu, and he is self-sufficient. There is no need of anybody trying to make Lord happy or fulfill his desires or do something. Lord is self-sufficient. He can easily kill so many demons, and he doesn't need anybody's help. And then that's what Prabhupada is talking about. He's killing Agasura, Vakasura, Shaktasura, when he has very small personality. So he's self-sufficient. There is no need of any external support to the Lord. And then further, he said that Lord is a beyond reproach, Avarnam. So, he is he's a without fault. So there's a discussion of Gopis dance. So Gopis, they dance with Krishna, and in that Leela of the Rasa Leela, Krishna is very much misunderstood. But no, Krishna is full of, he is not at all in fault with anything. And he is a real Shuddha. He is completely pure. That is the understanding. Apapa or prophylactic, and Shuddham, and receptive. That Supreme Lord is uncontaminated, uncontaminated by sin or a piety. He is not bound by sin or piety. So he is Shuddha and Apapa, that is supremely pure, and he is not bound by any sin or piety. Shuddham is antiseptic because even an impure thing can be purified just by touching him. Lord is apapa with him because a sin cannot touch him. And Shuddham because he can make anything pure in his presence. That is the glory of Lord. So we saw that Lord is a maintainer, Lord is the protector, sanctioner, reciprocator, he is Paribhu, greatest of all, he is self-sufficient, he is independent, he is beyond a reproach without any fault, and that Lord is supremely pure, Shuddham and Apapa Viddham. That is completely free from the clutches of sin and piety. It's not bound by them. If the sun, which is material object, is so powerful, then we can hardly begin to imagine the purifying strength of all-powerful God. Hare Krishna. Any question on verse number 8? So there are the qualities of Krishna which are explained. Please go through the qualities. It's easy to understand, difficult to remember, but then it's very good to remember. Yes, Prabhu, just improve. Question?
Krishna is telling Vedas to us, but he and this.
So I'm not getting, sorry. Maybe I'll switch off my video. Yeah, bro, please tell again.
Krishna give us Veda, but he himself is not following.
Where is not following?
धर्माचरण, धर्म का आचरण मतलब अपनी पत्नी से ही खाली आप मतलब संबंध रख सकते हैं, बाहर की दूसरी को पत्नी से की तरफ देख भी नहीं सकते। ऐसे जो भी वेदा में जो भी धर्माचरण सत्यम वदा जो बताया है, लेकिन कृष्णा लाइज समटाइम्स। So how to understand this?
Just 1 minute. So this particular word which has come, which is at the end, Prabhupada is also talking about it, is Shuddham and he is Apapa. He is Apapa Viddham. His prophylactic, which is the word prophylactic, refers to the power of his association. Or also, Apapa Viddham is that a sin cannot touch him. So, in the Vedas, it is explained, like, there is this verse talk about considering every woman to be mother. And how can Krishna enjoy? Or there is, how can Krishna marry such 16,108 wife? Or how can Krishna lie? So, the lie of a Krishna or Krishna marrying this 168 wives. That's why I quoted this verse, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatvataha. One should know this Tatvataha philosophically as it is. So there is a story behind it, there is a history behind it, and why did Krishna do that particular activity is very important. Krishna was, again, bringing, whenever we see Krishna with this kind of vision that, how can Krishna commit this particular sin where it is not recommended by the Vedas or the Vedic scriptures. People say that, Krishna is committing sin or Krishna is committing this mistake. So first of all, that is not a mistake because Krishna is the real enjoyer and he can enjoy what 16,108 wives, he can enjoy unlimited. When the description of Krishna staying in Dwarka comes, that Krishna had given very special palace to every individual queen. 16,108 queens had their own big palace, big gardens. No living entity on this planet can do this. Krishna, because of his omnipotent nature, could be present in all the 16,108 palace at a time. Can a living entity do that? No, he cannot do that. He was satisfying every one of them. No, when Krishna was dancing in a Rasa Leela, Krishna was able to expand into hundreds and thousands of forms, and then he was dancing. So Krishna is that real enjoyer. Who should be enjoyed. and he has that power of omnipotence. He is omnipotent, he can be present, and he can perform that activity. As soon as we try to see Krishna through that vision, that he has committed a sin, he is committing a mistake, he is lying. Now, when Krishna is lying, that like Krishna lied this particular thing, and then Krishna is to go and steal butter. He became famous as Makhan Chor. When Krishna is becoming famous as Makhan Chor, he's being a thief. But why is he being thief? That is also very important. Or Krishna's another Leela which comes in Vrindavan about Krishna is stealing the garments of a gopis, clothes of a gopis. So that's unethical. If we see on the ethical platform, that does not look good. But then that was a desire of the gopis, and he's fulfilling the desire of the gopis. So when he's doing that, he is giving a happiness and pleasure to his devotees, and he is trying to fulfill the desire of his devotees. When he's married 16,000 ladies, that was for their protection. When he's dancing in a Rasa Leela, he's fulfilling the desire of the gopis. When the gopis came to Krishna, Krishna said, "Why did you come, leaving your house? Go home, go back." Gopis said, "No, we cannot go back. We have come to give you pleasure." And that's why whenever and whatever activity Krishna has done, because he is the Supreme Lord, whatever he has done is perfect. And we should know why, what, how he did that. And for that, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, it is said that his every activity is Divya. It is divine. When it is said Divya, अगर वो हर एक activity दिव्य है, तो वो दिव्यता क्या है वो जानना बहुत जरूरी है. That divinity is, what is the divinity? One should understand. That's very, very important. Otherwise, we'll always misunderstand Krishna. And that's completely wrong. Bringing Krishna on our platform, Bhagavad Gita says the person who tries to bring Krishna on the platform, on the material platform, on the platform of a living entity, is Muda, is a foolish person. And that's why to understand it better, we should study scriptures nicely and try to understand it thoroughly. And how can we understand that? We have to follow the triangle of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We should confirm if the scriptures are talking about it, we should confirm with the Guru and Sadhu. If Guru is talking about, we should confirm with the Sadhu and Shastra. And by that, we can understand this knowledge completely. Okay, bro?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll stop here. We will continue tomorrow with the next 3 verses. Tomorrow we'll study verse number 9, 10, and 11, which talks about Vidya and Avidya. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Shri Isopanisad ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Abhishek Prabhu, can you stop the recording? You are host.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will start.
Stop. And then end.